Keeping it real, real, real.
Hello viewers out there, welcome to Mbuya vaRaphy talk show once again. I hope you are all well, whichever part of the world you may be. I know we are global, and of course, as our motto, the greatest gift to our community is when we all contribute to make lives better. What is your purposeful living? Which part are you playing in making someone's life better today? That's a question I'm going to leave to you. But for today, we've got our CEO, Mr. Jeff Madzingo from the UK, and we've had a good time with him here. He is visiting Australia, and of course, he is in the studio here with Mbuya vaRaphy to tackle, of course, the issue on insurance covers for all the diasporans. So today, Mr. Madzingo, welcome to the Mbuya vaRaphy talk show, and I am so excited. I am honored to have you in our studios face to face, and of course I know you as a man on a mission, and of course that's making lives better for everyone. Now, would you kindly introduce yourself and tell us, who is Diaspora Insurance? What do you do? What happens with Diaspora Insurance? I'm pretty sure many of us have got questions.
Yeah, thank you so much, and to our listeners, thank you for tuning in. It's indeed an honor to be seated in the studio today, face to face with Mbuya vaRaphy in Melbourne, Australia. And my name is Jeff Madzingo. I'm the CEO of Diaspora Insurance, and I'm based in the UK. And Diaspora Insurance is headquartered in the UK, but it's got clients globally. And I'm very happy to be in Australia, engaging the wider communities. And like Mbuya vaRaphy said, we're on a mission in Australia, and our mission is to empower the communities and change the narrative. The question becomes, what narrative? The narrative we have seen over the years in the diaspora communities is that every time there's a bereavement, it goes with begging. Almost maybe 80-90% of the cases you find people begging for help, for support, and it's a narrative that cannot define us as a people, cannot define us as a diaspora community, and we need to arrest that problem. And arresting that problem entails giving correct solutions.
Wow. Thank you so much, Mr. Madzingo, for such a clear introduction. And I'm pretty sure people out there, you are now geared to listen to exactly how these narratives are going to be changed. What has been the past and what future are we looking at? So the question I have for you, Mr. Madzingo, Diaspora Insurance, when was this company formed? Because people want to know how authentic you are, because there are many people out there that have lost money to scammers, you know. So how authentic are you? When were you formed, and what basis, who actually supports you? Because we know insurance companies have to be supported by big brands. Could you please tell our viewers?
Yeah, thank you for that question. Diaspora Insurance is headquartered in the UK, and I think on our platforms people have seen a lot of our head office. We did host the Zimbabwe cricket team at our head office. We did have a lot of high-profile artists I think just end of October, we had Kelly Kumalo at the office. We had the likes of Toki Vibes. We have the likes of Macheso, Mambo Tuterere, Albert Nyat, a whole host of other high-profile people from the artists, world, musicians, sports people. We have hosted the Zimbabwe Football Association outreach program at our head office. So we do support a lot of communities, not just the Zimbabweans. But also for the Zimbabwe corridor, the beginning of August, we had a embassy consulate outreach program at our offices in Birmingham, and there was over 500 people who came through the doors when we gave our offices for free to the Zimbabwean embassy to reach out to Zimbabweans outside London in the UK. So the company is not a new operation. Diaspora Insurance started in 2012 and has been growing strong over the years to now a multi-million-dollar operation. And we've got operations, or we will have got clients in almost every country in the world. We cover 25 African diasporas, and in terms of payouts to bereaved families, we talk millions. In terms of our turnover as a company, we talk millions. So it's really a big operation. In terms of the underwriting and the reinsurance, if I get your question correctly, that is very, very solid, because the Diaspora Insurance is underwritten by one of the biggest underwriters in the world, Risk Life International. And also, not only that, we reinsure into the world's biggest reinsurance. One of the world's biggest reinsurance companies, Africa Re. So it's really a solid proposition in terms of client protection, because from the onset, the plan was always to create something very solid and to create intergenerational security for diasporans and intergenerational financial wealth for diasporans. So it's a very, very solid operation. And I think the social media, YouTube, social media, or Facebook, is all awash with the testimonials of how people have benefited from Diaspora Insurance, not just in the UK but globally. In Austria, USA, Canada. You talk of Australia here. We had quite a number of clients who have benefited from Diaspora Insurance. So it's a very solid proposition and it's very solid operation.
Yes, and I can testify to that, because we've seen your works, and of course, vaRaphy, being vaRaphy, I have been supported as well by Diaspora Insurance, being a brand ambassador, and I can testify to that. The works that you have also been doing here in Australia. And even if you can go on Facebook, viewers, you can follow the Diaspora Insurance on Facebook. You can even on YouTube, and you can see what works they are doing worldwide, global. So thank you so much, Mr. Madzingo, for that. Now, I would like us, the main thing that I would like us to discuss, and maybe that I think would benefit most of our viewers, I would like us to narrow. I know we've got different covers, but for today, I thought probably let's concentrate on the Diaspora Funeral Cash Plan, which I think is the one that I hope and trust will benefit a lot of our viewers and listeners out there. Now, could you maybe tell us just in brief? I know we'll go into nitty-gritties, but just tell us. Explain to the viewers in simple language for them to understand what Diaspora Insurance Cash Plan is.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that question. In fact, the key thing to understand or to look at is the key thing to emphasize is that Diaspora Insurance was started by diasporans for diasporans. Yeah. And that is very critical. When we say Diaspora Insurance was started by diasporans for diasporans, it means that the whole solution speaks to the reality of the diasporans, speaks to the needs of the diasporans, speaks to the pains of the diasporans, because if you are prescribing a solution, you need to understand the need. You need to understand the pain before you prescribe a solution. So the way diaspora insurance is structured, it's structured to meet the needs of the diasporans in that it was coming from a position of having suffered the same fate that we see in the diaspora communities, where every time, like I said, it's actually a double trauma. To lose someone you love, whether in the diaspora or back home, it's very traumatic. To be caught up in that situation and you are suddenly reduced to a beggar, it's a double trauma. So the Diaspora Funeral Cash Plan as a product was structured to specifically deal with that problem head on. I think I've been on record several times saying that the fact of death in the diaspora should not reduce diasporans to beggars and should not bring the whole community into disrepute to say what's going on with the diasporans. Every time there's a funeral they beg. Every time there's a funeral they beg. It's because of a number of factors, and the Diaspora Funeral Cash Plan was structured to deal with that issue. And I've said that civilization per se is when a people are able to create solutions for their common good. And this Diaspora Funeral Cash Plan is a solution for the common good of the diasporans in terms of managing the financial shocks that comes with losing someone in the diaspora and or losing someone you love or someone very close back home in the country of origin. And that is very, very important. That's how Diaspora Funeral Cash Plan is structured to deal with that. We'll talk more into detail about how the Diaspora Funeral Cash Plan as a cover itself, why is it a cash cover, and how does it really work. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And that actually brings us to the end of this first segment. Do not go away, viewers and listeners. We'll be back, as you heard our CEO, Mr. Jeff Madzingo, here saying that he is coming back to explain in detail as to why it is a cash plan and not and why it's also different from all the other funeral covers. So stay tuned as we take a break. Thank you.
Those who are gonna get a diaspora insurance. So kwatiri inotipa is a peace of mind. Because diaspora insurance, peace of mind, irritated. Mbinga tose tinobaya saka chiuya chimbi chimbi munamoti chakumiririra kunyangwe uve mhiri yemakungwa unonzwa voti rwaiswa rwendo rwaiswa diaspora yapindira moyo voti rwaiswa rwendo rwaiswa diaspora yapindira. Amen, 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 amen.
Diaspora Insurance. Peace of mind guaranteed.
Welcome back to our second segment of today's program, where we've got Mr. Jeff Madzingo here in the studio in Melbourne, of course, together with us here, explaining further why he is saying he's on a mission. He is the CEO of Diaspora Insurance. Now, before we went on a break, he was explaining to us the funeral cash plan, and now we are just going to go further into why it is a cash plan and why it is different from all the other insurance covers that we know that are out there. Mr. Madzingo.
Thank you. Again, talking about the mission, we are indeed on a mission in Australia here to meet the communities, meet our clients. The mission is to empower communities. The mission is to change the narrative, like I said, and the solution that we bring to the market. The crafting of that solution was actually informed by suffering the pains of losing someone who matter in the diaspora. Personally, I went through quite some serious personal tragedies that really reduced me into a beggar, and The declaration or the affirmation was that no more, these people cannot continue suffering like this. Something else to give. We needed a solution. So the solutions that were coming up on the market, largely some of them quite informal, like burial societies, benevolent funds, people coming together, and things going wrong in terms of administration, embezzlements of funds, all those things happening, or just the schemes collapsing like pyramids. And it was not something that we thought it was good enough, because we wanted something which was intergenerational now, and supporting the diaspora in a fashion that it gives them much more comfort and much more security in terms of intergenerational financial security and financial welfare. So the Diaspora Funeral Cash Plan was structured as a departure from the traditional funeral insurance. The traditional funeral insurance normally offered by funeral directors is that to provide goods and services. Diaspora Funeral Cash Plan departed from that, and deliberately so, to focus on giving cash as a financial intervention, such that if there is a bereavement, what diasporans need is financial intervention, not to be promised a casket or a bus or a generator back home in your country of origin. The reason for cash is simple. Cash knows no border. Cash is king. And cash not knowing any border means that immediately your policy is a worldwide cover. So that's a very, very important departure from traditional funeral policies, because traditional funeral policies, the way they are structured is very rigid, and it shortchanges the diasporan. A diasporan is a transnational citizen, someone who belongs to more than one society, more than one nation. And ideally you want a policy which is equally transnational, because with the diasporan, two things are very critical. Location is not fixed. Choice over time is not fixed. Both are fluid. And as that happens, you want a policy which is equally flexible and very, very good in terms of linking out to those factors of the location being fluid, the choice being fluid, such that your policy as a diasporan should never be found wanting. In that you may take a policy today, maybe you are in your 40s or even 50s or 30s, which says when you come to pass, we'll take your body back home, we'll give you a bus, we'll give you a generator, we'll give you this and that. But ultimately what happens, because choice is not fixed, is that in the future, most of us will find ourselves in our afternoons realizing that I spent all my working life paying for a policy that promises me to take me back home, give me a bus, give me a generator and stuff, but actually I'm not going to be taken home. So you realize that in the afternoons of your life when you retire, that I'm on a wrong policy. It's too late to do anything, because you have spent all your life working and paying for that policy. We don't want that rigidity on the cover for diasporans, because it means that policy will end up not working for you, and it's just working for the insurer, because they walk away with all the premiums and you walk away with nothing, literally. So we want a policy that says if you want it to be taken home, it works. If you change and say I don't want it to be taken home, people who matter to me back home are no longer there, it works. If you even say I want cremation, it works. Even if you say you have changed the location from Australia to Canada, USA to UK, UK to Australia, whatever location you may be, maybe relocating, maybe on holiday, maybe you have found yourself retired and living with one of your children in a different country completely, your policy should work for you from any country. Indication knows no border, making your policy a worldwide cover. Choice over the time is fluid. We all, as first-generation migrants, tend to be fixated about being taken home. But that should not be a fixed position. Because once people who matter to you back home, that position shifts. Because you suddenly find yourself, you are now a grandparent in the diaspora, grandchildren in the diaspora, and you are no longer thinking of being taken home. Your policy should still work. So in Australia, we say people who are in Australia, you can cover yourself up to 30,000 each life. So a family of 5 could have 30 each life, total 150. Yeah. And God forbid anything happens to any family member, no matter where they are in the world, they are going to use the same policy.
Wow.
So that is very, very important. So 2 issues. Location is not fixed, and your policy should be able to work for you wherever you are in the world. Secondly, choice is not fixed, it's fluid. Therefore, whatever choice you end up choosing at the end of your life, the same policy should work for you. Those are 2 factors. I will explain more reasons why a cash cover is a better option for a diasporan.
Okay. Yeah. Wow, this is so good. If you have not, I have nothing to add or subtract. All I can just emphasize is, if you haven't taken your cover yet, I think get in touch with us. You know where Mbuya vaRaphy is. I'm everywhere. You just get in touch with me and we connect you. This is something that we all need to get on top of. We don't want to be beggars. We do not want that kind of disrespect for us. We are meant to celebrate life after death, not to get ourselves into expenses. Now, Mr. Madzingo, something I wanted to ask before we go further into this. You mentioned that up to 30,000, and this is Australia. So does this cover differ from country to country?
Yeah, basically the
amount.
Good question. I'll answer your question and elaborate a bit more on the cash cover, because there are some critical points that people need to understand there as well.
Okay.
Yes, the cover for Australia, we say you can cover yourself up to 30,000. Then for UK, you can cover yourself up to 20,000. For USA, 30,000. For EU, 20,000 per life. Yeah, but the other points about the cash cover is that when a funeral happens, a lot of diasporans find themselves being shortchanged in that the type of policy that they have does not speak to their reality. In that the policy is covering you to say, we take you home when you may not be taken home. But more importantly, when you lose someone who mattered to you back home, your policy should work for you. So the policy allows you to cover your family back home in hard currency.
Yes.
Yeah, so family back home in Australia, you can cover them for 7,500, and it's quite acceptable. With us, you can cover auntie, uncle, any relative you want to cover, you can cover them back home. Thank you.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. So that's the question I was going to ask. But thank you so much for actually elaborating on that, because I was going to ask for others that are we able to actually get a cover for our loved ones back home, and I think you have nailed that one.
Yeah.
So our viewers, we are going to take another break, and of course, if you've not tagged a friend, a family member, please do so. This is very important for all of us. And remember, a gift that we can give to our communities when we all contribute. So you can contribute by tagging someone with this very important message. Thank you.
Hello guys, thank you for watching. My name is Jeff Madzingo. I'm the CEO for Diaspora Insurance, and we've been running for, this is 10 years now. We've been running for 10 years, and yeah, it's been very, very emotional and engaging. When we started Diaspora Insurance, the inspiration was always to change the narrative and give families support, especially diasporans. The story has been, every time there's a diaspora death, people end up begging for help and support. And I've always said that grieving and begging is a double trauma. So we want to arrest that and make sure that every human being, whether in the diaspora or back home, deserves a dignified send-off. And we are here to support families and make sure they get their cover and peace of mind. What we offer is the Diaspora Funeral Cash Plan, a very simple policy that comes as guaranteed acceptance, no medicals on application, no medicals on claim. And as a no medicals policy, it means that in the event of a claim, families get immediate financial intervention. On paper, we say we pay within 24 hours, but in real life, the moment we get the paperwork to 2-3 hours, the monies are paid to families, which is always very good because people can then plan with certainty. They know what they're doing, they know what they want to do, and it helps a lot of families. So it's always very, very important. Please take your cover. We do a cash policy, because cash knows no border, and therefore it gives people a protection without borders. They can use the money for anything, whether burial abroad or being taken home, or even a reverse repatriation. Cash knows no border, and cash gives you additional money to cover things like food, tax service, flowers, photography, videography, top of memorial service, top of tombstone. All those things can be covered from a single policy. You can cover yourself in the diaspora, you can cover family back home, and it's perfectly okay with that, because the idea of a diaspora policy is to give people peace of mind and ability to protect their loved ones. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you again.
Diaspora Insurance. Peace of mind guaranteed.
Welcome back to this segment where we got our CEO, Mr. Madzingo from Diaspora Insurance, and we are discussing on the Diaspora Cash Plan. And of course, before we went on our break, we were discussing, we were trying to explain further on the Diaspora Cash Plan. Back to you, Mr. Madzingo. And I guess what we also want to know in terms of the Diaspora Cash Plan is, the age groups, from what age to what age are people covered in this Diaspora Cash Plan, and of course any other issues that are related that viewers and listeners need to know. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you so much for the question. Yeah, the only other key point to make about the Diaspora Funeral Cash Plan, which is very, very important, like I said in the last segment, is that you are allowed to cover your family back home. So normally, with the difficulty with the diasporans is that you wake up in the morning, the screen is red with missed calls from home, and you even dread to call home to say what has happened. And such, unfortunately, sometimes it's very bad news. You hear that mom is gone, or you hear that you have lost your brother, you have lost your sister. All those financial shocks that are faced by diasporans, we need to manage them. And the reason why Diaspora Insurance allows you to cover family back home wherever they are in the world is to help you manage those financial shocks. Otherwise, it's very unfortunate for us when we see people saying, I couldn't go to bury my own parent because I didn't have money. Or you end up using a credit card and plunging into unplanned deaths. And it's something that we need to manage, that risk, that financial shock needs to be managed. But not only that, the other key thing about a cash cover is that traditional funeral insurance, the way they are structured, they were structured in the yesteryear days where people were assumed to live locally, grow up locally, get buried locally, and therefore it was just enough to pick up the coffin, provide the body, pick up the body, give the coffin, give the service to bury. You may innovate to say we can do that, we can pick your body from offshore and bring you home, but that does not remove the reality of the situation of diasporans, that when a bereavement happens, the financial shock of having to deal with things like food, funeral vigils, church service, flowers, photography, videography, even after the burial, the cost of the memorial service, even after the memorial service, the cost of saying I'm having to deal with a tombstone and tombstone ceremony for someone back home, it's so huge that it leaves a lot of people out of pocket. So the reason for a cash cover again is to just make sure that all those costs are covered and they are covered correctly, and so that the diasporan does not have to suffer to end up with so much death after dealing with a family funeral. So cash will cover you in all those areas. The other thing to look at in terms of the cash cover is that some diasporans or most diasporans may find themselves in jobs where you fill in a timesheet every week. You get paid for last week, you fill in another timesheet, and by doing those timesheets, working as an agent, you get quite some good money. But God forbid a misfortune happens, a funeral happens. You find yourself this week you are dealing with funeral, no timesheet. Next week you are dealing with funeral, no timesheet. Maybe the funeral can end up taking 2, 3 weeks, 4 weeks of your time, no timesheet. The opportunity cost of not being able to earn because you are dealing with a funeral means that your pot of money is literally dripping money to deal with the funeral, and nothing is coming in. By the time you come back from the funeral, you are stressed, you are stretched, and the first thing you want is to pick the next shift, no rest. And that is a problem. It stretches our minds, it stresses our well-being as diasporans. So we wanted to say that there is nothing wrong with a diasporan coming from a funeral and going straight on holiday. But you can't do that if your police gives you a coffin and a bus and a generator back home. You can't do that. You end up just chasing the next shift on arrival. And it's something that we want to arrest. We want people to be able to celebrate the lives of their loved ones without the financial stress of saying what will then happen if I don't do this. So there's a lot of related costs that come with the funeral. And people need to be able to say, who is going to pay for this? If I'm stuck on this policy that guarantees to take me home when you may never be taken home. So again, it's something to wake up to. Yeah, you did mention some other policies that we do.
Yes.
So there's quite a number of other policies that Diaspora Insurance does. We've got group policies where we allow people to cover as a group. We've got schemes where an identifiable group of people can take policies under a scheme. We also have one of the schemes being students policies, where students can take policies, very cheap policies. As long as you are in college, you can take students policies where as long as you are under 40, you take your cover, and it's a very straightforward proposition to encourage students. I think we see quite a lot of young ones also
we do.
Being affected. And the key issue really is that some people may not take policy because they think they are too young to take a policy. But the question that everyone needs to answer may be that what is dying age? If you can tell what dying age is, then you don't have to take a policy. You can always take it a few months or a few days before the dying age.
if that was possible. But no, thank you so much, Mr. Madzingo. And I think that's very important, viewers and listeners out there, that death is inevitable, and it is important that we stay organized and we remain organized. And for a very small fee, you can cover yourself, and as we say, you are guaranteed peace of mind. And of course, international students, we've done GoFundMe for international students. Now, if you're also sponsoring an international student, you can get a policy for them as well, isn't it? So there are many covers. There are many covers there under Diaspora Insurance, but I'm pretty sure you've got one that can fit you. And one more thing is, in terms of we talk about, there are two types of people talk about, I've got life insurance, why do I need to get a Diaspora cash plan, vaRaphy? Mr. Madzingo, can you explain the difference to our viewers and listeners between the two?
Correct. I will explain that, and I also want to touch about the death itself being a taboo topic in the African diaspora communities. There is quite a lot of situations where we find the people saying, I don't need a funeral policy because I've got a life cover. The first point I want to make there is that these are not substitute policies. They are complementary policies. You need both. We don't ask you to cancel your life cover because you have taken a funeral policy. You need both, in that most life covers that people have are term policies, term assurance policies, where you find that your policy will run for a given period. That's why they are called term. If you want a life cover that runs for the rest of your life, they are called whole of life, and they tend to be very expensive. So if you check your life cover, you most likely find that it's got a start date and a finish date. In most cases, the finish date is way below the life expectancy in Australia, in UK, in most developed countries. And the reason for life, there are 4 reasons why you would normally take a life cover. One is for income replacement, to say I've got people, especially children, who are financially dependent on me. Therefore, if something was to happen to me, I die and I die with my income, the children will suffer. So you need a lump sum to replace your income so that they can see your children through until they are financially independent. That's one reason for taking a life insurance. The second reason for taking a life insurance is debt redemption, where you may have bought a house on a mortgage or a bond and you own your house. Maybe your house is worth 1 million, but you borrowed 700,000 to finance the house. That if something was to happen to you and your family is not able to pay for that loan, the house will be taken and sold to recover the money by the bank. So to avoid that, the bond then say the bond will come with an advice to say take life cover. Life cover says the same 700,000. It could be term, it could be level, it could be decreasing, such that by the time you finish paying for your mortgage, your life cover also finishes. But if you were to die while you owe money on that house, the life cover will pay out and clear the balance on your mortgage, so that the family do not have to lose your asset. The third reason for taking a life cover is just say I want to leave a lump sum for my loved ones. They may not necessarily be children who are financially dependent on you, but just to leave a lump sum for your loved ones. Then the fourth reason is sometimes for inheritance tax planning purposes, where if you are fairly rich and you say you've got an asset, a deceased estate of say worth 10 million, and you know that maybe 20% or 30% will be taken by the taxman, you then take a life cover to cover that so that your family inherits your full estate. Yeah, so that's for tax planning, for inheritance tax planning purposes. But the main reason why a life cover is not a funeral policy is one, if it's term, if you are blessed with long life, you are most likely going to outlive your life cover. So someone fought with a life cover of 25 years, takes them to 65. By the time they are 66, they don't have a life cover. The life cover period is finished. The insurance company has walked away. You walk away with nothing because your period of cover is expired. So it means you have outlived your life cover. You didn't die during the period of cover. Then the other reason why a life cover is not a funeral policy is that it's medically tested on application, medical underwriting, and on claim. The fact that they accepted you when you apply does not automatically mean that if you phone the insurance company and say the policyholder is deceased, they simply write you a check for 1 million or 500,000. They do medical underwriting on claim. Start writing your GP, writing your hospital, medical history, cause of death, and all sorts of questions. That process takes good to 3 months, 6 months. If there's too much back and forth for information.
And you're still waiting for money.
You can't then wait for 3 months or 6 months to be buried, waiting for life cover money. In other situations, if death is accidental, maybe the life cover can pay quicker. But if it's medically underwritten, what it simply means is that the insurance wouldn't be so folly or foolish to waste time doing those checks when they are guaranteed to pay you. It means they are looking for loopholes that can result in that life cover not paying.
Not paid, yes.
But that is not to say cancel your life cover. You need it, especially if you've got a mortgage and you have got children who are dependent on you financially. Yeah, the difference with a funeral policy is that with the Diaspora funeral cash plan, it's a guaranteed acceptance policy. No medicals on application, no medicals on claim. The purpose of the cover is to give immediate financial intervention.
And how long does it take for one, because you're talking about with the normal funeral, with the life cover. It may take up to 3 months if they're going to get into investigations. But what's then, like you're saying, with your no medical, required for Diaspora funeral cash plan. But then how long does it take after a person has deceased for money to be given to an individual?
It's very, very fast. The internet, social media, YouTube channel is awash with people testifying to say my police paid within 2 hours, my police paid within 3 hours. That's how quickly the Diaspora funeral cash plan pays, because it's a policy which is meant to intervene financially to support end-of-life expenses. And end-of-life expenses start immediately someone is deceased. Yep. So all we need is proof of death that someone is passed on. We then confirm with the issuing authority that it's genuine. And we need the claim form and ID of the deceased and the ID of the police holder. You tell us which bank account to put the money. The money is wired immediately into any bank account worldwide. So that's why this is a worldwide protection without borders. Any bank account worldwide. It happens quite often that you lose someone back home. By morning you notify us. By midday you send us, for countries like Zimbabwe, by midday you send us a burial order. By afternoon the money is in the bank, and by evening you're on the flight to go home to give your loved ones a dignified send-off. So that's how quickly it works with a cash-based funeral policy, because it's meant to give people support immediately. So it comes as guaranteed acceptance, no medicals on application, no medicals on claim. It comes with being a cash cover and in hard currency. This cover, we only do it in hard currency. If you're in Australia, you cover yourself in Australian dollars. Anyone you want to cover on your policy, family in Zimbabwe, in Kenya, in Ghana, in Ethiopia, in Mali, all those countries, Cameroon, all those countries we cover, you cover them in Australian dollars. And if there is a claim for mom back home, we don't pay them in the currency back home. We pay the money to the police holder in Australia. And the police holder is the one who then deals with what they need to do. Then if it's someone in the UK, the same thing. If it's someone in the USA, the same thing. So that's how the Diaspora funeral cash plan is structured, to help diasporans deal with the fact of losing their loved ones back home. So it allows you to cover yourself in the diaspora, allows you to cover family back home in hard currency as well. Why hard currency? It speaks to the issues of currency volatility. It speaks to currency uncertainty. That with a diasporan, we want a policy that is for the long term. Therefore, we are giving people cover in hard currency to make sure that long term the value remains stable.
Yeah. And that's so true, because some of these, the traditional ones, like you mentioned, Mr. Madzingo, you get a cover, you are promised a coffin, a cascade, and, at the start when you are 30 years, and then, 40 years, if God gives you long life, you then want to go back to that cascade. It's no longer the same value. Correct. You are then asked to actually pay up or top up. So I think that's the difference, and I would definitely be requesting or actually advocating and saying, guys, I think this is quite a good deal that Diaspora Insurance Company is offering for us. And as you heard from Mr. Madzingo, it was created for the diasporians by us, the diasporians. So we understand each other's pains. And thank you so much. Now, just as we are wrapping up this program, Mr. Madzingo, what is it that you would like to say? And I know you've been going around Australia, and I know you've really been a man on a mission with your team, and we've seen you even at churches, at Zimbabwean gatherings and other community African gatherings, and thank you for putting the word out there and putting the awareness to the people. Churches, some of us are taking churches as burial societies. What word do you have the pastors. I know the pastors are really in trouble because I hear someone saying it no longer becomes a funeral for pastors when one does not have a cover. You know, vayatoita namo kumbeni yabe inkatazo sibili. Aye. So what is it that you can word to leave out to our communities out there? And in terms of, we talked about death being a taboo, we didn't cover that, and maybe this is maybe what we can also talk about briefly before we end the program.
That's true. Thank you so much. The point really is that our African communities, churches, social media groups everywhere, the average African community, there's a tendency to avoid the topic of death as a taboo subject matter. I know it's not a dinner table topic, but ultimately this is nothing but planning. And the planning is when you bring the future into the present so that you can create the solution for the long-term good. And I know people don't want to talk about death. For some people believe that when you talk about death, it will crystallize into reality, therefore I will die. Because I'm accepting that at some point I will die. So I will die quicker. But let me assure you, there's no single person in the world who has ever died a second earlier because they had funeral insurance. Neither is there any single person who has lived a second longer because they didn't have funeral insurance. So this avoidance of the topic is just avoiding planning, and avoiding planning gets your family into problem. You leave your loved ones into big trouble, having to administer GoFundMe accounts, being beggars because they've lost someone they love. It's not on, and it cannot define us as a people, as a diaspora community. So we need to just take this as a matter of planning. If you don't want to talk about death, talk about the cost of dying.
Yeah.
There is going to be costs when someone dies. Who is going to be responsible for those costs? Do you want your family to use a credit card? Do you want your spouse to be a beggar? Do you want your children to be beggars because you did not plan for end-of-life expenses? It's very important. So churches, again, you find a lot of people sometimes going to church not because they want to go to church. Some to go because they think church is my burial society. If I don't go, who will bury me? But you are burdening the pastors, you are burdening your fellow church members. If you are in community groups, let's not burden each other by things that we can plan and solve. We need each other for moral support, not to be banking on the wider community that they will intervene and bury me. I said this before, as we toil day in, day out, we are writing our life stories. The sad part is that if the conclusion of your life story, and the conclusion is normally your send-off, if you have to use credit cards for your send-off or create GoFundMe accounts for your send-off, the whole life story becomes...
It will be all overridden by the conclusion of we had to do GoFundMe for vaRaphy.
We will always remember you for that GoFundMe. All your other good works, because the conclusion is so wrong. I can't celebrate your life when I have to be administering a GoFundMe account. I can't celebrate your life when I know there's no money to bury you. I can't celebrate your life when I'm withdrawing cash from a credit card to try and contribute for your funeral. So we need to arrest that problem as a community, and we want to declare that no more GoFundMe, no more breathing and begging. We can do better as a community, and the solution is there. This is tried and tested. The cover has been running for nearly 14 years now. It's grown into a multi-million-dollar operation, and it's properly instituted and frameworked to protect you for the long term, covering 25 African nationalities globally now. So the solution is there.
Yeah. So we are talking multi-million business company here. We are not just talking about a company that was formed yesterday. We are talking and we are concerned about the future of ourselves as diasporians, because it is a company that was formed by a diaspora who understands the pain and the griefs that we go through. And so if you haven't taken a funeral cash plan yet, this is the time. Get in touch with us. We are all over Diaspora. If you just type in Diaspora Insurance, you'll find us there. Just scan or put your inquiry, and the office get in touch with you. And also, thank you so much, Mr. Madzingo. It has really been an honor to have you in the studios live in Melbourne, Australia for the first time, and I'm greatly humbled and honored to have been sitting along such a great man. And may God continue to bless you for continuing to make lives better. So we are not just asking you to join. This is a company that has been sponsoring huge platforms. We talk about those that know Zimbabwe Achievers, Achievers, and they've just done a very great event in Zimbabwe, one since ever, a business forum as well as the honorary one. So it's gone very well, attracted over 350 people, and Diaspora has been part of that event. So they are, or we are giving out to the community, and they've also come here, Mr. Madzingo and the team, reaching out to the community to check if there are any events that are happening that I need sponsoring. They are here to give back to the community. So let's all work together to help one another and continue to be respectful individuals in the community and stop being beggars. So last word, Mr. Madzingo, to our viewers and listeners.
No, thank you so much for listening. Talking about sponsoring events, we just met today with the chairperson of the African Music and Cultural Festival in Melbourne.
Yes.
It attracts 50,000. It attracted 50,000 people last year, and we have just gone in as a platinum sponsor.
Wow.
So we are going to be supporting the community, and we're going to be meeting the community there. We do a lot of events as well. We are bringing in free to worship, and Matthias married to Australia to again. These events, sometimes we do them because we believe that's the link between our identity and home.
Yes.
It brings us together, and it's very, very important for our children, especially first generation and second generation African diasporas. Otherwise, they find themselves lost and not identifying with their culture and losing their identity. And that's a very, very sad situation that we cannot create as first generation migrants. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much. And of course, like my mentor would say, chiringa zuva chedu chakwata chikachuka saka tashika kumagumo. We have come to the end of this very fruitful and informative discussion today with our CEO, Mr. Madzingo, all the way from the UK, and he was live here in Melbourne, Australia, and he's saying he's a man on a mission. Now, thank you so much, our viewers out there and our listeners, and I hope you have taken on board all this information. Now, we also want to thank our media team, Big Lit Technologies, behind the scenes for making this broadcasting such a success, and thank you for everyone else who has been listening. Members of the family out there in the background, I can see you. Thank you for sitting in and encouraging us. Thank you, and we meet again next time. God bless you.